It's the perfect squares expansion we are looking at. Let's just remember the formula here, which is if you have a plus b and all of that squared, you use your a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Now, what does this mean? How did we get this? Let's just do it very quickly up here. So using the FOIL method, as we call it, the one where you expand double brackets, I'll show you very quickly now the proof, basically. The textbook has done it as well, but I find it's easier when you see it step by step. So a plus b and all of that squared means a plus b times a plus b. And now this method is the method to expand double brackets now. So let me use some red arrows here. So we want to multiply a by a and then a by b. And then we want to multiply b by a and b by b. So what do we get from this? We get a times a, which gives us a squared. So that's going to be a squared. And then we get a times b, which gives us ab. And then I'm going to start with the black arrows. Then we have plus b times a, which is the same as plus ab. So I'm going to swap the b and the a because ab is the same as ba. And then finally, we've got b times b, which is b squared. So you can just write down plus b squared. Now, just one final thing we can do here is the middle terms plus ab plus ab. Well, we've seen this is called collecting like terms. It's like having one lot of ab plus one lot of ab. So in total, that gives us two lots of ab. So we can say the final answer here is a squared plus two lots of ab plus b squared. So now, if I haven't confused anyone, you should all believe me here when I say that this formula is true, because I've just shown you that indeed it works out. So how would you remember this? We've got here a way to remember this rule. So when you have something plus something squared, then you can remember it this way. Square the first one, add twice the product of the two, so plus 2 times ab, and then add on the square of the last one. So that is the idea with this formula. So if we have an example here, let's say we've got x plus 3 and all of that squared. So how would this formula work? Now remember, if you have a plus b and all of that squared, that gives you a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Well, this one in this case will become, so a is x and b is 3. So what we get is x squared plus 2 times x times 3 plus 3 squared. We're almost done here. We just want to simplify this a little bit. So this 2 times 3 becomes 6 because 2 times 3 is 6. So this becomes x squared plus 6x. And then finally, we have this plus 3 squared. Well, 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. So we can say we just add 9. So this would be the final answer here. So this is pretty much what you're expected to be able to do today. Now, I wanted to mention something else as well. I wanted to mention that in the case where you've got a minus, then the formula is very, very similar. But instead of a plus, you will have a minus. So what do I mean by that? If you have a plus b and all of that squared, we've seen that this is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. But if you have a minus b and all of that squared, that's going to be a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So the only thing that changes is that minus here, the first sign. So I'm just going to make a note of it. In the first case, it's all going to be plus. In the second case, though, that minus will make this first sign into a minus. So in this case, then, our a is x and our b is 5. So how do we expand this pair of brackets? Well, we have x squared, which is going to be our a squared. And then careful, we have minus. And then we put 2 times the first term, which is x, times the second term, which is 5. And then we add the last term squared. So in this case, that would be 5 squared. So let's just go ahead and simplify this slightly. Well, notice the first one just stays the same. No need to change that. So that's going to be x squared. But in the middle, we've got minus 2 times 5. So we can simplify this a little bit. 2 times 5 is 10. So we have minus 10x. And then finally, you got this plus 5 squared. Well, 5 squared is 5 times 5. So you just add 25 in the end. So this is how you simplify, how you expand the brackets here for x minus 5 squared. So this is pretty much it with theory today, guys. Just remember these two formulae for a plus b squared and a minus b squared. In some cases, it might get a little bit harder. It might...
Can you do once more, just because I didn't understand very well?
Absolutely, yes. So I will be happy to do a slightly harder one. Let's see. So let's say we've got 4 minus 3x and all of that squared. So 4 minus 3x and all of that squared. So in this case, you've got, again, a minus b and all of that squared. Well, the formula for this, just we're trying to speed things up today. We are trying to do things a bit more quickly. So here we have a formula which gives us that this is a squared minus, so remember that trick was the first thing squared minus 2 times the product of the two. So minus 2 times the two things multiplied together, and then plus the second thing squared. So in this particular case, this is our a and this is our b. So if I were to circle them, this is a and the 3x is our b. So now when we have a squared, we have 4 squared. So I'll put it in brackets to emphasize that. And then we have minus 2 from the formula times a times b. So inside these brackets, I'll put my a, which is 4. And in the second pair of brackets, I'll put this b, which is 3x in this case. So that's a, that's b, a, that's b. And then finally, we add b squared, which in this case is going to be this entire thing squared. So entire 3x and all of that squared. Okay, so now let's try to simplify this. Well, firstly, what is 4 squared? 4 squared is 4 times 4, which gives us 16. And then we have a minus. Let's just write that down to remember it. And then we have 2 times 4, which is 8. And then times 3, which is 24, because 2 times 4 times 3 is 24. So we can write down 24x, the x because that was an x there. And then finally we have plus, and now we have to think about this thing. So 3x squared, well, this means 3x times 3x. And the 3 and the 3 gives us a 9, and the x with the x gives us an x squared. So actually the final answer here will be 16 minus 24x plus 9x squared. So this is a second example of how you would use this formula, a minus b and all of that squared. Often what you think might be somebody who's like a genius at maths is just somebody who memorized a formula, and just instead of doing it all step by step, they just have the formula and do it much more efficiently. I'll stop the recording here, and I'll be on the call, obviously, to help anyone with anything you might have an issue with.